After knowing the philosophical view of self, we have now the Christian or biblical view of self. So as I have asked questions from the previous video that I have uploaded on who are you and what is your purpose in this world, if you haven't found answers to those questions, well, the Bible has its own explanation about the self that could help you answer those questions that I have asked on the previous video that I have posted. For the Christians, we have our Bible specifically in the book of Genesis chapter 1 verses 24 to 28. There it says that we are created in the own image of our God, and male and female He created us. And we also should be fertile and multiply. So go to the world and multiply, fill the earth, and then subdue it. And then we must have dominion over the fish, over the sea, and the birds in the air, and all the living things in this earth. So in other words, we are being put as inheritor of this earth, as well as the heavenly kingdom of our God. So we are the steward of the world that we are living now. So that's our purpose as we are living in this world according to the Holy Bible. Since it was explained or explicated by the Christian or biblical perspective on the explanation of the self that human as we are entitled as stewards of this new earth that we are living. So it was also being mentioned that as creations of our God, since God made us in His own image, we are being entitled of the multiple jewels that we have in ourselves. So it is called the crown creation of self. We humans, we have our own crown that has different gems. So what are these gems? These are religious, aesthetic, moral, sentiment, sensual and sexual, economic, social, intellectual, political, spiritual, rational, physical, emotional, and religious. So those are the gems that we have in ourselves that we must take care of. It is the crown creation of self, since we are dominant in this world that we are living. So it was explained in the book of Genesis. So that was the Holy Writ's or the Bible's explanation about what is self. How would you describe yourself? So you have your own crown creation because you are created in the own image of God. You must have dominion in the world that we are living. So that is for the Holy Bible's explanation about the self. Next, for the Christian or biblical view of self, we have here Saint Augustine. So there are two key terms that Saint Augustine would like to emphasize for the foundation of individual self. It is love and justice. So Saint Augustine would like to remind us that if you want to live in a virtuous life, it is love and justice that must prevail in your life. So how do we define a virtuous life? It is a constant following and turning towards love. So you are virtuous if you are turning and following what is love and what is justice. And if you turn away from love, it is wicked life. So dili tama na mag-turn away from love because you have to go with love and spread love. So loving God means loving one's fellow men. So paano ba mag-love sa one's fellow men? It is by not doing any harm to your fellow men. So it says in the golden rule that do not do unto others what you don't want others do unto you. Kung dili ka gusto masakitan, ayaw panakit sa uban. So, ana lang po ang gusto ipasabot ni Saint Augustine. Love and justice must prevail as the foundation of individual self. So we are done with the philosophical view of self, Christian or biblical view of self, and we will go with the last explanation about the self, which is the psychological view of self. So there are many psychologists that explain or who explain what is it with the self, but I have chosen only two who were Simon Freud and Erikson. So these two psychologists are famous because they have their best explanation about the nature of oneself or identity of oneself. Now we have Simon Freud. He is a psychologist in which he theorized, or he is the proponent of the psychoanalytic theory of the self. Now he believed that the self is consist of three parts or structured into three parts. What are these? These are the id, ego, and the superego. First is we have the id. Id is the pleasure principle. So, yun lang yung dapat nyong matandaan sa id. Pleasure principle, kung gusto nyo masatisfy, na adraa sa id makita. So, you wanted to satisfy yourself, you wanted to achieve something, it is your internal drive or your intrinsic drive that motivates you to do something, to make you be pleasured. So, that's the id. I will give example of that later. Now, we also have the ego or the reality. It is the I part of your individual self. It is the rational part. So, it weighs things. It is having the reasons of doing such things. So, ginabalanse sa ego ang imuhang mga actions. Lastly, we have the superego or your conscience. So, it is concerned with the morals, the principles, the precepts, the standards, ideas. So, sa superego, diraan na mag-fall ang morality or ang the standard na kailangan i-follow. For the example of this psychoanalytic theory, which composed of the id, ego, superego. For example, ikaw na tao is nag-exercise ka. So, naa kay gina-maintain na body figure. So, here goes, musulod si id. Ang moingon ni id, mukaon ko og sweets karong adlaw. Mukaon jud ko kay gusto na ako ma-satisfy ako ang cravings. Karon musulod si superego dira sa ta. Id og superego sa ta. Ni ana po si superego na dili jud ko mukaon kay naga-maintain ko og body figure. Dili ko gusto manambok. So, again, ana si id na mukaon gid ko kay gusto ko ma-pleasure. Ni ana po si superego na dili ko gusto mukaon o dili jud ko mukaon kay naa jud ko gina-maintain na body figure. Here goes si ego. Diba si ego, siya man ang nagabalanse. So, muana si ego na, sige, mukaon na lang ko og sweets, but later, mag-exercise na lang ko para mabawi na ko. So, he is the rational part of your identity. Again, si id is pleasure lang jud iyang gusto. Si ego is nagabalanse, and then si superego concerned jud siya sa standard. So that's an example of Simon Freud's explanation of the psychoanalytic theory of oneself. Lastly, we have Erikson's theory of psychosocial stages of self-development. So, as a preview, gina-explain ni Erikson dere na human as we are, we have to undergo different stages, and then those stages that we experience have crisis. So, those crises that we experience is makakontribute sa ato ang self-development. So there are different stages that he explained in his psychosocial theory. Kaya psychosocial kasi psychology and social factors affect our self-development. So if we experience those crises in our different stages of our lives, that doesn't mean na it will result into just problems, but it will contribute. If we master those crises, if we know our weaknesses in our stages of our lives, we will be able to master those, we will be able to overcome those problems, kaya we will be able to master our own strengths and weaknesses as we go with our lives. So, I have found the best explanation about this theory, the psychosocial stages of self-development, I will pin it down in the comment section so that you can see for yourself. It's my reference of the explanation about the psychosocial theory of Erikson. So it has the best explanation of it, and I hope you will see the video, and I will also upload that one in our page so that you will have your own reference. You can also download the video. Okay, for questions, you can comment down or you can directly message me so that I could cater to your problems or to your concerns. So that's all for the preliminary lessons for understanding the self subject. Thank you so much.